Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Buster Green, and right now I need a whopping 809 hours to get monetized. So if you nice people could watch my videos for at least 9 hours today, I will finally have that horrible evil number below 800, and I'll be looking good for the home stretch. I'm still getting over a massive cold, and it's hard to talk, but I have to talk to make videos for YouTube, so that sucks. I'm literally dying. Anyway, so this is probably going to be my final video on Lupin Zero, I think, barring a Season 2 or some other crazy contrivance spinning off from it. Video game, maybe? There has not been a Lupin video game in years. Anyway, at this point, I'm pretty much reviewing the whole series because I kind of didn't review the last couple episodes. Now, the series as a whole was super fun. Like, I completely revoke and rescind any of my worries about the show before it came out. I was wrong. It ended up being probably one of the best Lupin shows I've seen in decades, and it was fucking great. So I'm going to fully recommend anyone without even starting my review. Like, if you want Lupin the Third to get better, just go out of your way to watch Lupin Zero, and if it ever is available to buy it on Blu-ray. It's literally the most based and awesome Lupin show, like, ever. Like, the show had friggin' shenanigans. I don't know about you guys, but I think shenanigans have been illegal in America since the 1980s ended and a bunch of teenagers, like, blew up the toilets. Like, how dare Lupin obtain a jackhammer and put a hole in the high school? What if someone ever did that for real? Won't someone think of the children? Won't someone think of the plumbers union? Alright, let's get down to it. Full series and season spoilers for Lupin Zero ahead. Anyway, so back to the review. I've already done full reviews for episode 1 and 2 of the series. Videos up here if you want to watch it. If you guys want to help me get monetized, please watch it. Unless you've watched it already. If you have watched it already, quick recap. In episode 1, Lupin meets Jigen. They fight the Yakuza. Lupin gets platonically involved in the life of a middle-aged lounge singer named Yoko on the wrong side of the law. She's not Fujiko, but she kind of looks like her. But she's like definitely 20 years older than Fujiko would be at this time. But for the sake of the series alone, she's honestly a very interesting archetype breaker. Because she's got Fujiko's looks and criminality, but she's not woman the cold spy like Fujiko is. She's more of a proactive victim. She's a little bit more in line with the princessy type girls that Lupin likes to save, like in the later media, but anyway, so then episode 2, they rob a train. While they're robbing the train, Lupin helps another princess girl who's a Native American Indian or something, and also I got really pissed off that Lupin and Jigen have their full adult powers and skill sets despite being fucking children, which is kind of infuriating, but that's how the show rolls. It's honestly my biggest and only problem with the show, but if you ignore that, it's otherwise a perfect show. So let's ignore it and move on now, shall we? So that brings us to episode 3 of Lupin Zero. Now, episode 3 is the episode I've been waiting for and didn't expect to get, but hey, we got it. Episode 3 is basically the secret origin of Lupin III, mixed with our first alive appearance by Lupin's historical grandfather, the legendary Arsenio Lupin I. And this is the first time he's ever been depicted as both alive and well in Lupin media. And I wonder if that has something to do with the public domain rights to him expiring, or they just figured, fuck it, there's nobody going to stop them. Now, young Lupin still comes off as super OP in this one, but at least he's teamed up against a pretty average rogues gallery of interesting thieves. Plus, it actually does go into the backstory of, like, why he's so, like, massively good at thievery. And he also has a massive edge in this competition, since he intimately knows his grandfather better than the other competitors. Anyway, so he's up against a cliche for the series, Robin Hood the 14th, a weird woman in a bikini from, like, Burma or something. And lastly, there's this annoying girl-haired kid on a pogo stick. I don't really get his deal, but this kid is pretty OP too. What or who is he? Like, I kind of missed that. Anyway, so this episode ends with a massive twist ending that old man Lupin isn't done doing crazy shit, and this whole massive thieves contest was a scam for Lupin I to steal the beating heart of Robin Hood the 14th, freshly carved from his body. Whoa, that's gross. Clever, but gross. Also, there's a massive double twist in this episode that apparently the sexy lady was actually Lupin II. So we're actually fully getting into Lupin's parents in the show, which is just huge, full on huge. Like, Lupin's parents have only ever been depicted in the manga before, and like barely like alluded to in like the anime. So then the fourth episode like did not look exciting. It looked like it was gonna be like more childhood shenanigans as Lupin and Jigen try out booze for the first time in their lives. And the preview honestly completely undersold the episode and just made it look like they were stealing like a bottle of hooch from like a closet somewhere. The actual episode was so much more interesting. So what episode 4 is about is Lupin and Jigen spend the entire start of the episode trying to make themselves a secret base so they can go to school but not go to class, which is pretty insane because Lupin just whips out power tools with like zero hesitation and starts like putting holes all over the school. Like the first place they find is like almost perfect, but then Lupin destroys it trying to install a bathtub. So then after that, they fail to find any place that could work to build a secret base. Like, they even tried building one in the garbage. Like, it's disgusting. So they somehow discover that since this is the 1950s or the 1960s, occupying American military forces are still in Japan, and somehow they have installed a literal sewer pipe filled with whiskey. And so Lupin and Jigen decide to steal it. But in the process, they end up almost getting murdered by some racist American soldiers. So they just get pissed off and they destroy it in an act of revenge against them. Fun times indeed. Now, aside for the moral ambiguity of the American military being racist assholes who kill children for fun and hide whiskey in the sewers, this episode was great. Now, should I be offended at that because I'm an American? I mean, I'm sure there's unfortunately some factual basis on that, especially in Japan, so, oh, that hurts. Sorry, American military, you guys gotta stop being assholes. So the fifth episode gets super serious again when Lupin's way too old for him girlfriend Yoko starts getting abused by some thug. So Lupin stupidly interjects himself to like defend her, and he gets his ass beat bad with the heavy implication that if he wasn't Lupin, he'd be fucking dead. But the fact he is Lupin leads him to just get his ass severely injured by this whole process. Also, his dad, Lupin II, comes back, and I guess his main gimmick, at least in this show, is he dresses up as women using a full-body female prosthetic, which are creepy as fucking real life and is a real thing. Also, he's very okay with destroying them on the fly, and I'm finding out from this video they're very expensive. So anyway, the plot of episode 5 is Lupin II steals a Metal Gear Solid atomic railgun from the US military, the same assholes who Lupin had just scrambled up by stealing their whiskey sewer pipe from, and then he gives it to this asshole who beat up Lupin the Young, Lupin III, who turns out to be a vague allegory for Che Guevara or Fidel Castro or some other kind of Cuban revolutionary, because the series is set in the 60s and Cuban revolutionaries are the most dangerous global people of the 1960s. And also in this episode, it seems like Yoko might actually be another lady spy like Fujiko, and Lupin II is also somehow involved in a crazy world domination scheme all of a sudden. So then Lupin's mansion gets raided by these robbers, but Jigen is with the robbers, so he sells them out to protect Lupin. And then at some point, Lupin and Jigen just go full gay for each other, which is like, what? I mean, I think it's supposed to like show they like fell in love with each other, but like literally, like if it's literally, that's like way too far. Anyway, so then in the end, like Yoko and her boyfriend and a group of like random South American rebels like seem to be planning to fire this nuclear warhead at Tokyo to ignite a third world war between Japan and the United States, where like I guess Cuba or whatever this fictional country is would like take over the world. However, luckily before that can happen, Lupin III begins officially, with Lupin doing his cue card thing and him finally declaring himself Lupin III. So this last episode has this climactic showdown between Lupin III and Lupin II. Clarification that Shinobu is not Lupin's mother, she's his weird stepmom slash bodyguard slash maid. Not biologically related to him at all, so I guess Lupin's mom dumped Lupin's dad. Don't read into it too much. Oh, and holy hell, during the battle between Lupin II and Lupin III, which was worth watching the entire show to get there, total payoff, it's impressively a Lupin versus Lupin battle, but it's also kind of Scooby-Doo in a funky way. Like, it's super entertaining that this serious adult comedy is pulling off these Scooby-Doo style jokes. Like, it reminds me of this fuzzy nightmare I had the other night that an adult Scooby-Doo show existed that contained no Scooby-Doo jokes and no Scooby-Doo at all. No, wait, I'm making that up. Anyway, so also, they fully explain the Walther P-38 in this series, and they do it in a satisfying, not corny or shitty way. They just explain that it's his dad's gun and he gave it to Lupin. So that explains why it's an old gun from World War II, and it's probably not even like his dad's main gun. But because he gives it to Lupin III, it means something to him now, and that's why it becomes his main gun. And then the massive surprise at the end of the last episode is that young Lupin finally does become Lupin III in like all aspects. Like, he's like got the suit, he's got the gun, and it looks a little corny in a few shots because the suit's obviously too big for him, but fuck. This, at this point, is like dead on from the Lupin flashbacks in the original manga. And more than that, this is the big payoff I was waiting the whole series to get to. Like, I'm a Lupin III fan, and I wanted to see like the first mission of Lupin III, so the fact that they do deliver on that promise, fucking fantastic. Like, I cannot praise the series enough for actually getting there. Now, I kind of wish they had gone there sooner and done some more, like, adult Lupin stories. But the fact they got there, like, I'm still satisfied, so... So, anyway, yeah, the show is freaking great. But despite that all, it does have a surprisingly dark ending for what was otherwise a lighthearted childhood romp. In the last episode, Lupin ends up shooting Che Guevara to death and, like, ending the Cuban Missile Crisis in a sudden surprise victory for Japan. And then, like, to make it even sadder, after the fact, his pseudo-girlfriend Yoko reveals she can't live with herself because, like, she was financially dependent on Shay and probably, like, banging him too. So she, like, walks off a boat and kills herself. Now, Lupin takes it pretty well. He kind of just laughs it off, but he also takes up smoking cigarettes as a direct result of this, like, situation. And the show ends letting you know that Lupin completely emotionally recovered from this moment and did not dedicate his life to rescuing red princessy type women. And Asui plans to knock over a casino soon. And it's going to be an illegal casino, so they can't call the cops on him. Alright, so honestly, this series was fucking balls out based. Like, this series earns its existence for being, like, one of the best prequels ever created. It wasn't corny, it wasn't overly stupid. My main and only gripe was that they retconned Jigen to be Lupin's childhood best friend, and Lupin was way too OP throughout this entire series for a fucking 14-year-old. Like, the only time he even lost a fight, it was a fist fight with a grown man, and then an episode later they were like, by the way, Lupin only lost this fight because he was fighting one of the strongest soldiers on the entire planet. Honestly though, the way the series ended, the only thing I want now is more of it. Like, if this show can at least get one more season, and I'm praying that it does, because the last episode pretty much slyly implies more episodes, unless it's implying the Castle of Cagliostro, or a scenario like it. But shit, the show perfectly leads into the original Lupin manga. That's driving me insane. Like, that's great if the master plan of the show was just to reprint the manga and make easy money, which, if that was your plan, good job, mission accomplished. But this is a fucking chance, a never-before-reached chance, to do a true to the original Lupin reboot. Something I've always dreamed about, something I've always wanted, something I never thought we would see, and by God, right now, we are so literally close to it. All they need to do is one more Lupin Zero ep, age him up another year or two, and we're fucking into it. Give Jigen his suit, introduce Goemon as a purely antagonistic enemy, bring in Fujiko to fuck with Lupin, and lastly, the Zenigata origin story, and we're there. Actually, speaking of Zenigata, I was pleasantly surprised that, aside from the American military trying to kill him, young Lupin had zero run-ins with the cops. Probably because his crimes were too small in scale or something like that. But yeah, I want to see what's next. I want the show to succeed now. Even if Lupin Zero wasn't perfect, it opens up the door to reach a perfect Lupin reboot, and that is potentially amazing, and that is something that needs to happen. Like, goddamn, this show is okay, but it's pure madness right now that we are on the cusp of reaching a potential perfect Lupin the Third Year 1 reboot taking place immediately after this. Like, it honestly didn't occur to me right now, but Lupin Zero is potentially the ship-writing Lupin reboot we always needed to fully sear into a true-to-the-original Monkey Punch manga adaptation of Lupin the Third. And now I'm filled with pure terror to see if Lupin Zero will actually get a second season or if it will get canceled and this was just a flash in the pan full of pure soul. Anyway, that's everything I gotta say on this topic. It hurts to talk. I can't talk anymore. Stay subscribed. I owe some people tokusatsu reviews next. I'm sick. I'm going away. I gotta sleep. Good night.